So how do you usually do this? Do you play excerpts from the, like when you cut the whole thing? I haven't checked it out just
Usually,
yet.
yeah, like usually we cut in a minute here and there. Like every 10 minutes I throw in a minute clip. Since we've done the album before, I probably won't cut any in unless there's something where you're like, I don't think people are familiar enough with this bit. Maybe they should hear it, in which case I probably would just throw it in there.
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
usually. Make sure I just have it here on this phone.
No, of course. Yeah, I thought I had a recording of it I could send you, but I couldn't find it. So, in case, because some people just don't have them. They've got the album memorized or don't realize they haven't heard it in 20 years. You know,
right?
It happens.
I'm gonna make sure it's just. I'm just gonna make sure it's right in front of me.
Sure.
How long have you been out here?
11 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So from upstate.
From upstate. Then I lived in Chicago for 2 years, and then here, Chicago to finish up college.
And what'd you study in school?
Film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Which is why I'm doing a podcast. Doesn't pay me.
I think
film degree.
I'm sure you're not alone. It's kind of like making a film, just an audio version.
Sure.
It's an audio documentary.
Mm-hmm. Very long, now 100 and some hours long audio documentary.
Yeah. There you go. And do you? I know you told me about some other people that you asked about, but what's your fascination with the whole? You like to see where other people got their influences, or is that what it is, or or are you a vinyl nerd who also? You're both. Okay.
A little bit of both, but I mean, I only collect comedy vinyl.
Okay.
Just because honestly, I can't afford music vinyl, and I don't have the taste. I like what I like. You know, Queen and XTC are about the only two things I have on vinyl, and that'll be it. Yeah,
that's cool.
You know, and beyond that, I know my comedy better, and it's easier for me to it's easier to buy, you know, a 20-50 cent comedy albums than it is to buy 20-50 cent record, you know, music albums, because they sound like shit.
Well, and do you do comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do? You stand up and?
No, I mostly write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a scripted, like a screenplay.
Do a little bit of improv, all that.
A little improv,
stuff,
okay.
Yes.
What do you do improv?
Mostly filmed, mostly on camera. But you know, like each month I do this show called A Drinking Game where I act. We do an 80s movie. We do a stage reading of an 80s movie.
Okay.
And we drink audience drinks.
Okay.
It's a little silly, but it sells out every month somehow. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Audience has fun.
And
it sells out. That's great. Where do you do it?
Usually we were doing it in Hollywood for the last 3 years. Now we're doing it in North Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Next month is actually going to be in this neighborhood because we need a bigger theater because we're doing Big Lebowski, even though it's not an 80s movie.
Right.
We just did Goonies the other day. I was Mama Fratelli, of all people. So that was fun.
It's a great character.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What else? What other questions do I have? When you find old comedy vinyl, sounds like I'm starting a podcast.
No, it's good. I like it.
But
I'm already recording, so it's okay.
Do you find stuff just aside from stand-up stuff? It's got to be you have to have like sketch stuff. You have to like Cheech and Chong and shit like that.
Of course.
And
Cheech and Chong's the reason I started this.
Really?
That and Weird Al.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then what about comedy interviews? Do you get a lot of that stuff on vinyl? Can you find any of that?
I haven't been able to find them, but I know this guy who who restores albums out of his own pocket, sort of for fun and just so that people can find them. Mm-hmm. And he has these two albums. One album that was released in conjunction with Steve Martin's Wild and Crazy Guy. The other one was released in conjunction with the soundtrack to Life of Brian, and it's bits from the album, but kind of podcast style. They were radio interviews.
Okay, right, yeah. Because I know they do that with records, because they'll do like an import where they'll do like a single, then they'll have a band interview on like a picture disc.
Right.
So and that'll be in Japan, and they'll press that there or something. Like Queen will have those, you know, and Jethro Tull and a bunch of classic.
I've just found them a lot harder to get for comedy.
Yeah.
A lot. Jesus, man, a lot harder. So.
Well, do you listen to? Do you listen to the On Comedy? What is it? The catalog of interviews. It's all on CD because I think.
Oh yeah.
With Miles,
have the Woody Allen one. I think
there's a Woody Allen. There's a lot of really good stuff. Yeah. There's Woody Allen. There's Seinfeld. There's
Carlin must have done one, right?
George Carlin, Johnny Carson, everybody from everybody.
Yeah.
Not. Oh, Jack Benny does one.
Yeah.
Milton Berle does one. So it's like super way back, deep in the Delta comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know,
I love that show.
like old stuff. But it's a fun thing. But that's what I was wondering is because I'm considering all that stuff, and a comedy interviewer for this project that I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a nerd for that, for like certain stuff. But I wonder if almost like a microfiche, if you were starting out doing comedy, wouldn't you want to hear everything all of your favorite comics have to say about it?
You would think so.
Yeah, and where could you find that? And sometimes it doesn't exist, and that's why that Larry Wilde guy, who's the on comedy person, he's this nerd who you can tell from the course of all these interviews that he's been dabbling in stand up, and there's something about him that just doesn't fucking get it.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, that's
which is great because he's experimenting and he really wants to know what the secret is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what the premise of this whole project is that I'm working on.
Oh, that's awesome.
The secret of comedy.
That kind of greatly paid off for. I mean, Judd Apatow was doing that when he was like 16.
A lot of people do.
He was 16.
Well, myself and Eugene Merman, do you know him?
Oh, yeah.
And a guy named Patrick Burley, who's a writer on Fallon now. But the three of us worked at a newspaper too, and we would kind of do what you and your buddy was, like gang up on somebody and listen, you know? And we did it with, sometimes they got to go do some, and sometimes I didn't really want to be a journalist, but I wanted to hear what these guys have to say, so I just kind of butt in on an interview here and there. But Eugene did that too. He would go and talk to people who have done more and have had more time on Earth to do stuff. And you learn this shit, and it's somewhat inspiring. And then also you find out how they fucked up, or all kinds of cool stuff. But it's really it's part of the learning process is the interview, you know, the teacher student of it. But yeah, okay, that's why I ask.
We might as well get into it.
Sure.
I have Brendon Small here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I live here. It's hard for me to not be here.
See,
yeah.
Damn it. See, nobody. You just ruined the illusion.
Did I?
What happened? Yeah.
Well,
but
I live at your studio. Yeah.
Nobody else has picked. Let's Get Small for some reason.
That's strange.
I think people avoid it because I think some people are like, well, everybody's done this. Well, no, really, we've
That's
only
what I
talked about
think.
it once.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, or maybe I'm older than everybody, too, which is possible.
Well, maybe.
You may be interviewing a younger stock of people.
Sometimes I try and avoid it when people are just like when their only influence is Adam Sandler. I can't talk to it, and I can only talk about his albums so much. And not to crap on Adam Sandler, but I grew up on vinyl, even though
that was still vinyl. The vinyl switchover still happened.
Did he have a vinyl? See, that's
no. I would have to imagine. I don't know if vinyl was as popular.
Right. No.
But you know what? Maybe he didn't have a vinyl. Maybe people weren't printing vinyl anymore because it was early mid '90s when his first record came out. I think
so.
I would imagine a guy that likes music as much as he does would want to have a vinyl pressed.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But it's his
Who knows?
stuff.
But no one was buying it back then. It wasn't. Right. It hadn't come back.
Right.
You know, like it has now.
It was at that point not cost effective to even bother. I'm assuming.
Right. Well, nowadays I print vinyl of death metal records because that is a collector's item. Mm-hmm. You know, and then if you've got a good record player, then it'll sound pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I will still collect a new comedy album on vinyl here and there if I can. I'm still, like I said, mostly don't care about the sound. But then again, what you're doing is music too, and that's right. That's when I get torn.
Right. Well, I have now. I have a really good record player now, and it changes everything. If you have like one of these Newmark things with the I'm pointing to one right now. It's in my studio.
It's the exact same one that's sitting in my apartment.
That one, yeah. It's not a great one.
No.
It's not a great one. It will make the sounds.
Sure.
But when you graduate from that to like a really good, expensive one, it's all you all of a sudden. It's one point a buddy of mine named Paul Green said it's like having sex without a condom. That's what it sounds like. That's what music should sound like.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But that was the best way I heard it because you can't describe it. There's warmth to it. There's this high fidelity in music alone. In comedy voices, you will hear like a different kind of compression on the microphones with the audience, or a certain kind of like distortion that only happens with analog.
Right.
Nerd shit. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I've already gone on too long.
And then the other problem is that this doesn't do 78s, which bugs the fuck
Oh,
out
it
of me.
doesn't. I guess
the
I've
other
never
thing that
tried a
bugs the shit
70
out of
on
me.
that. Yeah.
So, when did you first hear Let's Get Small?
Well, luckily, see, I grew up I was born in 75, and my parents were probably thriving in the 70s as far as like being grown-ups before children ruin their lives.
Sure, yeah.
So they had a pretty good collection of music, thank God, and they had a pretty good movie taste, thank God. And the other thing was they had a few comedy albums. So they had like a Bill Cosby. They had they did have Let's Get Small. And that was it. Those were the two comedy records. And that's also all you could really get comedy-wise if you're a kid in the suburbs. You're pretty much getting Cosby. Or if you don't have a cooler older sibling. I have an older sister, but she was not hip to cool shit. She didn't know about Cheech and Chong and dirty shit and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but for some reason, Steve Martin made his way into our home. That and SNL.
Yeah.
And so that one I listened to, and I love the cover because that's a big part about records is that it's the album art that really gets you enticed to buy it or to listen to it or wherever it is, from great classic rock to comedy, I think. And he looks so stupid on the cover of that thing because he's wearing the fake nose and he has the balloons on his head. And I don't know if on that one, but I know in the fold out of that one he is he's holding an electric guitar, which is like an old. Geez, I gotta find that image so I can describe the guitar properly rather. Let me see if I can find that. Bear with me. You can edit this out.
No, that's fine. But that is one thing we talk about. But some people resist talking too nostalgically about having the comedy album in your hand. But that's a big thing for me anyway.
Yeah,
it gives you this snapshot. If you've never seen Steve Martin before, while I understand the appeal of radio, this is a thing to have. You have a point to start at. You're like, oh, this is what this dipshit looks like, and you get to hear him, and the imagination gets to run wild.
Right. So, okay, so I think I'm wrong. I think that was a different record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wait, let me see.
That might have been... That could have been Wild and Crazy Guy, because Wild and Crazy Guy is a lot of... Because there's a big bit in the... When he did the King Tut on stage.
That was it. So that was it. That was the one I was mixing up with that. And he does have an electric guitar. It looks like some weird old Ibanez or some SG kind of thing. And it doesn't show the headstock in the picture I'm looking at. Anyway, that one's where he's smoking a bunch of cigarettes and they're all broken.
That's right.
So that's the inside of Let's Get Small. But yeah, just holding the art in your hand, that's a cool thing. And then you get to read about whatever it is that's on the inside. And I think comedians will thank a few people, and usually they use a microphone, so they don't have too much. Not like a musician where they have to thank the amp companies and the guitars and all, and the 18 people that move their equipment on and off stage, you know. So it's usually pretty clean, and it's just about what the guy looks like who's making us laugh.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But that one just floated around for a long time in my home, and I definitely spent a lot of time listening to it.
Was there... I mean, did you sit and listen to it on your own? Was it with your family? What was the...
I would listen to it probably with my brother and sister, because my parents had already listened to it. I don't think they were going to just keep on revisiting it. So I would listen to it with them, or if I had a friend over, I would listen to it. And then I think you just start memorizing bits, and then you go to school, and I think you start... like you find one of the like-minded people who knows the other half of the bit, and then you're friends.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Did you have any friends like that you made and then kept because of comedy, and then kept rediscovering stuff with each other, or?
Yeah, and that ended up being kind of much later. I think right around 12 to my teen years, which is when I think you start developing. Something important happens during adolescence, as far as I'm concerned. I think you start developing a point of view. And the way you do it is, I think, through your comedy, because that's accessible. You can watch SNL and go, you know what, I like this sketch, I didn't like that, that was predictable. You start developing this very carved out point of view, or you like everything, or you don't care about anything, or you're very, very, like, you turn into this comedy snob, which means you're going to become a writer at some point. And going, you know, they could have fixed that by doing that. You start getting into, like... And then you start writing your own sketches based on the characters they have and all kinds of stuff. The other part that happens is around, I think, like a couple years later, maybe around 14 or so for me, you start developing your musical identity, which means you go spend money on your own records and stuff too, which is a huge part, because people are like, well, what do you listen to? I like Metallica, and then people are scared. I'm like, that's right, motherfucker. You get scared, because I'm scary now. I've made that decision this week, you know. But
hard to do that with comedy.
It's hard to do that with comedy unless there's like some weird, scary person who could potentially hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of like, I remember Sam Kinison was coming out, and people were like, "This guy is talking about coming on ladies' backs and just like weird shit." And this isn't for your mom or your sister to listen to. This is really dark. This is about a dark, weird man who's going through some shit. But around 11, 12 years old, I met a friend of mine, and he really introduced me to music, and he also really liked comedy a lot, and we're still friends to this day. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that kind of taught me my first chords on guitar, and we would sit there and talk Steve Martin. We'd watch the Homage to Steve special, and like and all that stuff, and which is a lot of that stuff is kind of repeated in this special too. It kind of floats around on a couple different records, But yeah, that was it was just like a Steve Martin impression that we would do, because he'd float in and out of 2 or 3 different characters, like a really quiet guy who would just kind of talk to the audience,
right?
And then the big crazy guy, and then so he'd like, but it was easy to do imitations of him.
Yeah,
and then he and I were blown away because we were both excited about guitar. The other huge thing, and one of the reasons I picked this record, was that he does play banjo on it.
Yeah,
and I'm just kind of remembering his whole early career when he did pull out the banjo and he really started playing.
Yeah.
Like Foggy Mountain Breakdown, I think is what he plays, which is like a really difficult to play song, and it's he's a virtuoso. He put the time in, Mm-hmm. So that's another reason that this record, because virtuosity and making someone laugh and all that stuff is really that's exciting to me, and it always has been. For some reason I've gravitated around those kinds of comedians.
Yeah.
Well,
no, and I'm finding that with myself as well. I mean, I've been a fan of yours since Home Movies, not knowing, I don't think at the time, that you were the musician that you did, and that you are the musician that you are either. I had no idea at the time.
Right.
I just gave a fuck about Home Movies. I'm like, this is hilarious. And then, more recently, I've, obviously known about Metalocalypse and guys like Dave Hill who are doing comedy and also shredding. What is it fulfilling in you to do that?
What is it fulfilling? I don't know. It's a different part of your brain that gets to get exercise. It's very different from the art of joke construction or scripts or character stuff. It's totally different. And it's the kind of thing that you don't need an audience for in order to kind of nail down and get right.
Yeah.
Because if you do stand-up or if you do anything live in front of people, you realize that you have no idea if it's going to really work. I mean, you can be really confident and go, I have a pretty good idea that this shit's going to do really well.
Yeah.
And then there are times where you're like, I have no idea if this is going to work. If I have the balls to complete this, I will probably get rewarded on the other side. And then oftentimes you're wrong about everything,
Yeah.
If you keep on taking chances, that is, if you don't just sit in the same piece of material and die there.
Yeah.
But music, I think you can kind of nail down and get together because you're the audience for that. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting, in a studio with all this stuff, and I record all the time, and I make music for TV, and I make records and all that stuff now. And before it gets to the audience, I have a pretty good idea of what's going to work and how that's going to perform, either live or on a record or whatever it is, and which song I think is going to become more popular than others, just because I can hear it. I'm sitting here and my ears are pointed towards the speakers, and I can hear it.
Yeah. Whereas,
you lose objectivity as a comedian because what you're asking when you're trying out a joke in front of a group of people is this funny, or am I completely out of my mind, or have I not slept enough, or have I had too much coffee, or what is the problem here?
Yeah.
That's what you want to know, because you don't know. And there's so many little tiny things that you don't know if you've set up yourself enough to make you relatable to a person in this particular instance.
Do you think, and then the other aspect, of course, is personality, where you could be a technically perfect guitar player and still blow everybody away and they'd be satisfied, I think, right? A lot of people say that about Rush, that they love only the technical perfection of it.
Right.
And whereas comedy, you have to have, it's all personality. It's all what you're beaming.
Yeah, that's true. There are some people who are kind of like savants, who I think, who, can words in an order and then
Yes.
say them in a fucking complete like icy deadpan and then make it completely like I have no heart or soul, but I'm making you laugh like crazy,
Yes.
and I don't give a shit about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is that, and you know, in music, you know, even the great technical guys who have become great over the years, or we know them as great, there's something underneath their technique. There's something, they have a soul and a heart underneath there that's pulsing, and it just so happens in that particular style they're adorning these twists and turns with many ornaments. You know, and sometimes that's exciting, sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's great to hear, you know, Albert King squawk through a guitar solo and miss a note. It sounds fucking awesome.
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
Though he doesn't miss notes. But it would be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it more satisfying to you to know that you've got... I mean, musically, obviously, you have to have it nailed. But I guess I just wonder, knowing that you've got this thing, I won't say, you know, you're not telling yourself I'm the best thing in the world, but to have something pretty much mastered. I mean, to have that, like, just that it flows out of you. Something I can't relate to.
Right. Well, it's the thing is, the way I look at music and my relationship with playing music is that it's this amorphous blob, and some days you got it and some days you don't, and you have to kind of talk yourself into it every day. It's like the movie Memento to me, where like I wake up and I've got a guitar in my lap and I'm like, what is this thing doing here? I have to re-talk my hands into playing guitar every day. You know, so I have to go right, and then if you're always about 3 little steps away from a mistake, almost in anything in life. But with guitar, you have to really be concentrating as hard as you can, and that's what you learn as a guitarist, is sitting in a room and concentrating as hard as you can and saying, hey, finger, go over there and don't go over here, okay? I just told you don't go over there, go over. Okay, now I'm gonna think as hard as I can until I get tired, trying to correct this stupid mistake. And that's what a lot of the technical stuff is. It just meant that you didn't have a girlfriend for a really long amount of time.
Sure.
And it's very true. And I've talked to other guitarists who I think are really great in the world of rock and roll and metal, and they've given me some very nice guitar compliments over the years. And the one that made the most sense to me was one guy was listening to my guitar playing. I was playing him like a little piece of music. It's like something that was pre-recorded. And he nodded his head, and he said, yeah, it sounds like you put the time in.
Yeah.
Which is what he said. Which is like, that's the compliment you want to get as a guitarist. Yeah. You're not magical. It's not in your blood. You worked for it.
Yep.
You know? You worked really hard. You put the time in. And that's what it is. You put the hours in. And that's what you need to do. I mean, anybody can do it. They just need to find those hours somewhere.
Right.
And put them aside.
It's nice when music is treated like a craft. I don't see that happen with comedy, though, because there's so much ego to stroke.
It's different. It depends who you're talking to, I think, because there are some people who really... They're like 3 different camps. They're the people who are like, I don't know what I'm doing, I just go up there and I do it. Yeah. There's like that guy, and I don't get that guy. Yeah. Then there are the people who want to remind you how hard comedy is.
Yeah.
It's like Jerry Lewis. It's like, there's pain, there's always pain, and we had no toilet paper, only orange peels, which is what he says in an interview at some point. And I was like, okay, that may be true. What do you have to tell? What do I need to know that shit?
Not know.
You know what I mean? And then you've got the guys who I think I really like listening to Seinfeld and Chris Rock and those guys talk, because they romanticize comedy.
For sure.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about this magic that they have that isn't magic, that is craftsmanship driven. Chris Rock is a craftsman. Seinfeld is a craftsman too. Louis C.K. is a craftsman, though his craft is a lot more difficult to kind of uproot and start pulling apart and looking at, because he's got such an internal way of thinking, even from those super old days.
Yeah.
But those guys, and I think Steve Martin is a craftsman too in many different ways, because he's got that music thing where he's got things completely nailed down and to a T. Yeah. So he knows exactly, because he's wearing these. You've got all these intricate moving parts on the banjo. Yeah. You've got these pieces of metal stuck to your fingers, and if you're off like a fraction of a centimeter, it's just not going to play right with your right hand. Your left hand has to know exactly. You have to bend notes just a little bit. You have to pull them off. You have to not look. You have to see what's going on over there. You have to memorize the shape of the thing underneath your hand, how it feels in case the lights go off. But I think with his physicality, I think he works stuff out. I think he probably leaves room, like any great artist does, for anything to happen. And you see that happen in his live stuff back in the day. But he's a real craftsman. He really cares about where the words go, and you see that from his writing,
Definitely.
from like back in the old New Yorker pieces, or like Cruel Shoes. I don't know if you ever read that.
Yes. Yep.
Which is really great and just absurdist and fantastic and just goofy and silly and likable and stupid.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah.
I've always actually wondered about him as a writer too. Is exactly what you were talking about, is that there is that you get the test of the audience, you get to go up there, but as a writer, again, it's different. As a musician, you're your own audience. He's had that. I mean, he was playing banjo from, I don't remember how old he said, early teens, and
he was a kid,
but then to write, I mean, I know this from experience, you have no fucking audience, so you've got two choices, usually, or at least when you're starting out, it's either to hate everything you do or to love everything you do,
right?
And so I do wonder, like, how he works as how he tests shit out.
I mean, I think I've also noticed, if you're sitting, especially in animation for Metalocalypse to home movies, there's a lot of manipulation you can do after the writing, after the acting, after all that shit to really put stuff in place, which is through editing and tricks and sounds and all kinds of shit, like just a bag of just unfair tricks, that you could never use live. Though, I mean, actually you could if you wanted to, but to really manipulate people with music, to really manipulate them with sound effects, to truncate someone's dialogue and say, fuck it, I don't need that anymore. If we just go to that thing, actually, I don't need the dialogue at all. Why don't I just have them not say anything, and we just watch this joke eat shit in front of this character. Now it's fucking funny again. Right. But there are a lot of things you can do. But again, when it's your voice connecting to an audience, you do have material, but it is, ultimately, it's about that guy's ass on stage, living or dying.
Yeah. I actually, I should send you a link to the interview that I was talking about Wild and Crazy Guy. I don't know how well you know that album, but he talks about exactly that, just being like, this joke just was eating shit, and he's like, I just move these two words around, and everybody loves it now. Like,
that's like those are the weirdest things that every comic sits there wishing that, like, oh right, those two words need to be flipped around, and that's funny to hear those stories, because you never know where they are, and that's why comedy is exciting and interesting, and that not everybody does it, is because it's like how I kind of view my relationship with the guitars. Sometimes I got it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm funny, sometimes I'm not so funny. Right. When I'm good, I can get pretty good laughs. When I'm not so good, you may not want to be there when it happens. It gets really ugly, But going back to what I think are the three types of people talking about comedy. I'm trying to remember what started that question. What was that question? I'm wondering if I even got to my point, because I do think at least that's how I categorize people who talk about comedy. The people who don't know how they do it.
Right.
I think that's like how David Cross is. He's like, yeah, shit's just funny. And then, like, I think Bob Odenkirk's like, no. You have to study Monty Python. You have to study this.
Right.
And then and I know other people like Brian Posehn, who I think is just a fucking funny guy who has a really strong understanding of words and his physical being and all that stuff that comes out on stage. And when I see him do comedy, he's really funny for all those reasons. And he really cares about comedy. But he doesn't sit there, like, I nerd out about certain lines in movies and get jealous and upset in the most fantastic way possible when I hear something like, isn't that the best line that you've ever heard? And, which is... I think the same thing about guitar. I think it's about hammering something out until it's right. But is it different though for you as far as comedy? Because I mean, you can hear when a note's wrong pretty quickly. You really can. There's something that happens with that's. I mean, when I talk to, because I do like columns for guitars, things now, and I'm going out this summer to teach with the School of Rock kids on like a thing, which will be really fun, but. The main thing I can say is that, you've got two hands. It's your left hand or your right hand's fault. Like, they're not getting along, and they need to be separated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to sit there and hang out with this one for a while and calm them down and go, hey, listen, so fuck that other hand, You have to really just don't worry about what they're doing. You have to worry about what you're doing, Yeah. I know they get to hang out outside, but you have to stay indoors and study. Yeah. So you have to really do all that stuff. Plus, if you record yourself... you can hear more mistakes than you can, because you can trick yourself. You can kind of glaze over and lose your mind and start playing something. Going, I'm pretty much doing it. And then start watching TV or start going online or whatever it is. But once you start recording yourself, you hear it's like the caricature drawing you don't want to see. That exaggerates all the bad features that you don't wish to see. That's what recording yourself does. And that makes you a great musician if you're up for that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going up after bombing. You know, after you like ate shit and you go, well, obviously I'm no good at comedy. No. No, you keep going up there. I do? Yeah, you keep going up there. And then you get good. Or you and if you want it, it's sitting there. That's what I think comedy is, too. Yeah. It's just like music. I really think if you got a sense of rhythm, either in music or comedy, and you give a fuck, like you really give a shit, you will figure it out.
Yeah.
It may take you a really long time, but you will figure it out.
Right.
You know, and you will become an artist at some point.
Yeah. I you know, it is one thing to talk about the rhythm of comedy, and it's something that I will nerd out about, and why this was said perfectly, and again, word choice and all that stuff.
Right.
But I just don't know why it works as well with comedy as it does, because it's not uncommon for a comedian to be a musician. For Mel Brooks is a classic example. Drummer. Right. He was a drummer I think during World War II, and he's always talks about not just the rim shot, but da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, that's this is how I speak, this is how I tell a joke. Right. It's obvious that not everybody's rhythm is the same, but I don't know why it works. It's one thing that people don't talk about.
Well, there's a musicality in stand-up, not just rhythmically, because you can go fast, you can go really slow, you can just shift tempos like crazy. And I notice more not when I talk as myself, but when I do character stuff, either on stage or in TV shows. If I change my rhythm like crazy, I go fast to slow, or contradict someone else. Especially in dialogue, if I'm contradicting somebody's rhythm, either going fast to them or just pulling it backward to a place where they're just fucking hate that I'm taking so long to say something, that adds a new layer of comedy.
Yeah.
And then there's something else that, if you go back, I remember, I think Eugene and I, we were sitting there, because we were like both 21 or 22 at the time when we were roommates back in Boston. And we were, we'd go out and watch comedy, and we'd see people like Anthony Clark, and then we'd go home and listen to like Emo Phillips records or whatever. And we were just always just kind of around comedy and studying it and trying to figure something out that we didn't know before. And these guys that were doing well had a musicality, almost like a contour. Like they would talk like this, and then they would end down here. And now Eugene's adapted that into his kind of speaking too. Even like Bill Cosby will do this, like he'll just twist these notes around, and then he'll also keep his rhythm is he will keep you in a story by saying, now I went, and you're going, yes, where you went, where'd you go, and you go to the store before I was stopped, you know, and he'll just start talking, and the way that he gets this, I've watched him perform live, and I see that he's got a couple thousand people just hanging on his every word, and this is like a half-hour long-form story about like a first date or whatever it was, but he had us in the palm of his hands as a storyteller, and it's because he had a musicality to him. And he had just it's an understanding of speech. It's your voice is a musical instrument, you know. You forget it's a big fucking shitty flesh-covered slide whistle, you know, and you can use it in some way. And I realize that when I go on stage, there are times where I really use it to a point where I just overdo it, where people are like, "Oh my god, I don't know why I'm laughing." I'm like, because I'm doing this stupid thing with my voice. And there are times where I do straight stand-up where I'm like, "Why aren't I doing any of that shit? Because that would save my ass right now." You know what I mean? Because it's one of your options. Louis C.K. has a booming, just baritone that just punches through, and he has a bunch of, and he gets quiet, and he gets loud, and he gets quiet, and he has like, it's all music, you know. It's the staccatos, it's the starts and stops, it's the it's every single kind of musical dictation you're allowed to use. You can do anything. You can go forte, mezzo forte, piano, quiet. You can. I remember hearing story just about quiet, just being quiet on the microphone, of like an old club in Boston that was like a sports bar, and they had a shitty old TV in the back, and this must have been the early 80s or something like that. And every single comic that went up that night was trying to compete with the sound that was happening. There was a game on. They wouldn't turn the game off. There were people talking to each other. And each comic was going, so, and just like screaming above the microphone. And one guy went up there and just went the other way, and he started going, I went to the store the other day. And everyone kind of put down their drink. Like, what do you? Hold on. What's that guy say? And everybody just naturally, just the psychology of the room, because they couldn't hear what he was saying. They all leaned in and they heard. And that guy, that was Stephen Wright, I guess.
Of course.
So, but that's just such a great way to get someone's attention. All of a sudden, you're as quiet as you possibly can be. And now you're interesting. You know what I mean? You were so disinteresting, screaming and trying to jump around and get someone's attention. And all of a sudden, you're interesting because nobody can hear a fucking thing you're saying.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I always think that I understand the musicality of it, but I'm realizing more that the more I do this, and the more musicians I speak to, actually, is that I am more of a word choice person. I understand that better.
Right.
I understand rhythm just sort of instinctively without thinking about it. It's one of those things where if you know, some comedians don't like to break down. Actually, that's something I want to talk to you about is the math of music and breaking it down.
Yeah.
It's cool to talk about with other musicians. Am I wrong? Like, you can talk about that shit.
To a degree. I mean, you get into there's the cool thing is when you happen upon a like-minded musician, you will never run out of shit to talk about. Because there are a million things. I mean, look in this room with all these guitars. For every single thing that makes that guitar go, every single thing that makes this amp go, these nerd musicians, myself included, everything that's in this drawer filled with guitar pedals, and every one of these cables, and every one of these amps, all these things, you can talk about them endlessly. Because it's a never-ending subject, because there's so many different variations of one thing. And then you can talk about odd time signature and all that stuff and weird, stupid shit that, like, what was Frank Zappa doing with the Black Page and all this kind of stuff. Regular people that aren't musicians will get bored because you're basically trying to... It's like trying to do a theorem in front of them, and it's
I guess
not as exciting. Unless you can find the humanity underneath it. And sometimes you can. You know?
Right.
But I will say this, actually remind me of just the musicality of the human voice. Because Steve Martin definitely has it, like, excuse me. You could play that on a slide trombone, you could play it on a guitar, you could play that. You could play that as a lick, you know? And there was a cool experiment that Steve Vai, who played with Frank Zappa, who's now like a famous rock and roll guitar player, and I've gotten to know over the years, he did there was a song called Jazz Discharge Party Hats on a Frank Zappa album called Man from Utopia. And on this piece of music, it's just the band is just doing like a... And it's just this kind of walking bass line crazy thing that's kind of going nowhere. And meanwhile, Frank Zappa's telling this story about these crazy girls that they met somewhere in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
And then so they record that, and then Steve Vai would do this stuff where he would make his guitar sound like it was talking. He would hit notes that the human voice would sound, and it would sound like, oh, that sounds like the kind of like the teacher from the Peanuts kind of a thing, like, you know, with the flange trumpet thing. But so Frank Zappa said, take this piece of music and take my entire, like, 2.5 minute improvised story and do that. Double it with guitar.
Shit.
And so Steve Vai did it, and it was really, really interesting sounding.
Oh my God.
It meant that basically every single thing that we say and how we say it can be duplicated on an instrument. So so it really is. So human speech was actually kind of not. So what happens is you put out these records, and then you put out the music books because there are all these music nerds, and he had to transcribe the whole.
It's insane.
So it just goes to show that it can be done, and there were really weird things that I noticed. Frank Zappa, I think there's a crossover in vocal contour between Frank Zappa and Steve Martin, too.
Really?
There's a weird thing where I think they use same kind of speech contours.
Okay.
Or maybe Frank Zappa was watching a lot of Steve Martin in the late 70s, and he was doing these kinds of things. Right. Like those kinds of, you know... Again, just him fucking around with a certain kind of thing and just making that a Steve Martin thing. That would be a Steve Martin impression from... You know, if I said, hey... You know, like, if I tried to do what I just did, like that... Like what he does in Excuse Me, like that kind of excuse me kind of thing, and speaking from the back of his throat. I don't know. I'm going on and on.
No, it's fine. But my whole point was that a lot of people crap on getting that technical about comedy, and I think, I don't know, I think because there is no physical instrument, maybe there is no sheet music for it. It's a very different animal, but people do get a little bored with it. I try and try to find those people. who
Yeah.
don't.
No, I mean, comedy nerddom's fun. I mean, if you... I think it's the same with music, too. You find some people who don't want to talk about it. They just want to do it, you know? And that's cool. But the truth is that those guys that are really good at doing high-level, crazy, good improvisational music they've logged the hours at some point.
Right.
They don't want to keep on... I mean, they're like, yeah, I went to school. I'm out of it. Now I just play.
Yeah.
I can see that people divide their lives into those kinds of chapters.
For sure.
And people don't want to keep on like staying in school and go, no, one more year. I'm going to keep on. I'm going to keep on studying this thing. But it's fun, and it's good, I think, for me, who has a thumb in a couple different pies, you know, with like comedy and music and the TV and all that stuff. It's nice for me to remind myself what I love about and what got me there in the first place. And one of the things that got me in comedy in the first place was Steve Martin on this record. So, and that showed me, oh, this guy's half brilliant musician and half comic, and he's only shown me the tip of the iceberg of the music part, which I guess he's doing differently now. I think he's going on tour and doing tons of stuff. And I saw a little clip of him on a banjo documentary with like some other great banjo players, just talking about the history of banjo, like on iTunes. I just bought it because I knew he was on it.
Yeah.
And I wanted more of him. He narrated it, but I wanted just to hear his... Because I'm sure he's got a lot to say just about, like, fuck comedy. I'm talking about banjo, and that's it.
Yep.
And I would love to hear how far he could go and what he's discovered along the way. Because I'm sure he's discovered stuff that other people haven't. Because he's got an ideology and a way of just uncovering things and discovering shit, you know, that makes him unique.
Do you have a favorite track on this album, or is it?
Well, let me see. Let me take a look.
It's hard because it's one of my favorite.
I mean, Mad at My Mother was one of the things that I thought was really, really, really great. It was so stupid. I'm mad at my mother because she wants money for food. But that's also that's all musical. That is so stupid.
Yeah, I really love One Way to Leave Your Lover. That is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can do it, but I'm not going to do it. But it's one of my favorite bits of all.
Yeah. It's just the one where you...
I guess I'm kind of thinking about my old girlfriend, you know what I mean?
By the way, starting, I mean, not to overanalyze him, because he'll go like, my mom wants something for food, and it's clear that he's doing a stupid character within a character within a character, and he's acting like such an asshole. You can't get mad at this guy. You know he's joking. He doesn't feel this way about his mother. And then he goes into as a very serious, he goes, hey, I just got to talk to you guys about something. Like he just cuts the... He gets intimate with the audience for a second. That's how that whole thing starts. You go back to that. Serious all of a sudden.
Nah, it's just... I guess I'm kind of thinking about my old girlfriend, you know what I mean? We were together about 3 years, and sometimes when I get on stage, I kind of think about her because, you know, she'd travel with me, and I'd be up here performing, and I could hear her laugh, you know. It kind of meant something to me, I guess. I guess I kind of miss her. And she's not living anymore. So. You think that's funny? I guess I kind of blame myself for her death. We were at a party one night, and we weren't getting along. We were fighting, and she began to drink. And she ran out to the car. I followed her out. And I guess I didn't realize how much she'd been drinking. She asked me to drive her home. And I refused. We argued a little bit further. She asked me once again, would you please drive me home? I didn't want to, so I shot her. Bloody shotgun. Cut it right now.
Just don't get
That is really stupid. There's like not even a joke in there. It's just like he's just him lying and acting like an asshole. Yeah.
And he could have dragged out this, so he shot her, but he doesn't. He just
He just keeps moving. Yeah.
So good.
So this is a classic, I think. I think this one was. This is a great song because this makes no fucking sense, and I love that. That's just kind of like part of what he was going for. Is just I don't care if this means anything. I'm just gonna be incredibly stupid, and I fucking love that about him.
You know, folks, when I was a kid, I was very close to my grandmother. And she used to sing a song to me when I was just so high, and it's always meant something to me. And I'd like to do it for you right now because it does have meaning in today's world. Even all these years, even during the hip drug days, when everybody was supposed to be so cool and everything had double meanings. And this little simple tune would keep coming back to me. I think it kind of guided me through those years. And I'd like to do this song for you right now. I think it might have a little meaning for you. Be courteous, kind, and forgiving. Be gentle and peaceful each day. Be warm and human and grateful, and have a good thing to say. Be thoughtful and trustful and childlike. Be witty and happy and wise. Be honest and love all your neighbors. Be obsequious, purple, and clairvoyant. Be pompous, obese, and eat cactus. Be dull and boring and omnipresent. Criticize things you don't know about. Be oblong and have your knees removed. Be tasteless, rude, and offensive. Live in a swamp and be three-dimensional. Put a live chicken in your underwear. Get all excited and go to a yawning festival. Okay, everybody. Be courteous, kind.
That's just like appealing to a child that lives inside of you. That is a really funny, fucking great song. And you're waiting. He does such a great job timing and waiting. You're waiting. Okay, where's the joke? Where's the joke? And the joke is so obsequious, purple, and clairvoyant is the first joke, and you're like, that makes no fucking sense. And it's not a dick joke. It's not a sexual joke. It's just really silly and just makes obsequious, purple, and clairvoyant.
He's like one of the it was this weird post vaudeville thing where he couldn't have done actual vaudeville, but he still clearly loved it. Where it's not a thing we'll never be able to have seen actual live of vaudeville, so our springboard is totally different. But he still had that.
Yeah, he did. Well, the way that he talks to an audience and the way that he kind of strums along and talks is like that of a musician. And that happened a lot, too, where folk musicians started kind of like telling jokes in between. Now, that's Jonathan Katz's story. Because I guess when I asked him about, like, how did this whole thing start, I don't even know if I asked him. Maybe I was around when he was telling somebody else. But I like to take credit for it, even if it's not true. But he would just go out, and he was a folk singer and songwriter, yeah. And he used to call himself the White Paul Simon. Which is really good. But he would go and he would do stuff, and he realized that he wasn't playing as much music. He was just talking the whole time. And just saying all these absurdly silly things, and he kind of had that strange, that very kind of well-known patter, almost like, when Bruce Springsteen goes up there and strums a couple of chords and talks about a couple of years ago, I met a man, I went up to him, and you know that there's more story coming. Yes, go on, please. There's something interesting going on here. And he has us right where he wants us. And that's a long-winded setup to some of that stuff, But we're totally engaged, and we're totally interested in what he's saying, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Even the story with a girlfriend, He's got us from doing something really loud and bombastic, probably. I want to know what the track is before that. Oh, smoking.
Not too many people smoking out there tonight. That's pretty good. Kind of bothers some people. If you're in a sleazy place like this and people start smoking, it doesn't bother me in a nightclub because I'm used to it. If I'm in a restaurant though and I'm eating and someone says...
This, I think, goes to a pretty bombastic place at the end, smoking. But that's another great thing that I think a good comic can do.
Anyway,
a good comic can do is have a good kind of louds and quiets. Have them balanced out. I mean, I don't think we look at our sets this way, that we look at like a comedy record, and maybe we should, But him going loud, and then because I noticed that because I watched the homage to Steve. I guess that's how he says it on the special. I think it says homage to Steve.
Yeah.
But he gets really loud and all that stuff, and he goes, "Can I tell you guys this?" I was gonna say something. I just don't think And he starts being that kind of like snotty kind of artist who's isn't getting shit the way he wants it.
Right.
And then he goes into excuse me or whatever it is. When he asks for a spotlight or something like that, I think he does that, and nobody does anything. Can I just get a spotlight, please? Okay. All right. I think in a place like this, you could probably get a guy to, like, he starts getting angry at the guy who's not there, and then he says, and then he does this big excuse me blowout. Just so stupid.
I really, I've never seen, like...
I don't even know if that's on this record.
I don't know if it's on that one or the next one.
Yeah.
Shit. I'm trying to think.
I should know this record more intimately.
Well, it's okay.
But it's right here. I can always just play the whole thing.
You can always play the whole thing, and it doesn't... That's one of the funny things, though, is, like, if I bring somebody on and talk about it, half the time, and it's just like I am, it's like, oh, wait, I forgot this track, or, oh, my God, you can still rediscover it even if you've heard it a million times. And I've listened to this album on repeat, probably, rotating 3 or 4 times a day, I'm sure.
They kind of blend into one another, which is not horrible, but he opens up with this.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, 40 houses, Carlton presents the Master of Comedy. A wonderful please.
Big intro. And he comes out with his banjo.
Thank you. Whoa. Hey, this guy is good. I'm a rambling guy. Well, I'm rambling round. I'm a rambling guy.
And he just starts fucking
Ramble
around.
out to the different time score in a car, get a hotel. Oh yes, 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 oh yes. Oh no, a rambling guy. Hey, R-A-M-B-L-I-N apostrophe or rambling. Okay, everybody, come on, sing with me, rambling guy. What's the matter? You people uptight or something? Okay, ladies only. He's a rambling guy. Okay, now the men. Rambling. Okay, this half of the room. Okay, now this half. Beautiful. There's 2/5 of the room. Now there's 3/5. Okay, 2 7s, 5 7s. Okay. In Chinese now. Mon gao, mon gao, mon gao. Well, I'm rambling.
There you go.
So good.
Yeah.
Throughout it,
Wows them all.
He's not even trying throughout it. He's fucking up throughout it. But then
Oh, this song
by the
is just
way, I
like
can play.
he shits on the idea that he's doing music the second he starts playing it. Yeah, which is pretty funny because he's that good. Yeah, that made me want to learn how to play banjo. Which I kind of did.
Really?
Not as much as guitars made me want to learn how to play guitar,
Right.
but I do have now I can do some of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
God, see, that shit blows my
I'm
mind.
glad I don't have one here to prove that I suck.
Yeah, well.
But I think I think I've done it. I've recorded tracks with banjos and stuff like that before, even on home movie stuff and Metalocalypse. But it's nice to have an extra instrument around to make some extra noise on a track. But nothing like that. Not yet. I think I'll be able to do it one of these days.
It's I don't know why it's so impressive. I can barely play guitar, so it's one of those things where I get blown away no matter what anybody does. But it is a very specific. I mean, I guess it's it's when people like you who can play guitar the way you do are like, yeah, anybody who can play the banjo is,
Right. Well, no, I don't think it's more difficult. It's just you can't treat it like a guitar. You have to treat it differently.
That's the problem, huh?
I mean, even though the 3 middle strings are tuned exactly the same as the banjo, there's another string here and another one there that don't make any sense with how the guitar is tuned. So you have to think of it like a different instrument, and the way that it makes sound, that percussive sound, that kind of just punchy, that clicky kind of attack. That's just you're listening to him play stuff, and I'm like, oh, his hand's probably not really moving from this position too much, but the fact that all these strings are so close together and these notes are kind of ringing into one another and stuff, there's all this cool stuff that's going on with the banjo that just doesn't happen with the guitar. And the way that it resonates, you know.
Has it always been natural for you or okay with you to be like, well, you know, I can play metal, I like metal, but it's still okay for me to make fun of metal, like, in a way?
You know, the truth is that I think you're allowed to make fun of shit you really like a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you only made fun of shit you hated, then you wouldn't have that. You would have no material.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
If you know your world pretty intimately and have a strong affection for it, I think you're gonna have, you know, years and seasons of show, and within that you can get even more specific and even more specific. And there's so many cool things to study about metal, and then all rock guitar and all guitar playing or whatever. I mean, I grew up learning how to play rock and metal and whatever, and I like really nerdy fusion stuff, and I get into like lots of nerd stuff and jazz stuff too.
Yeah.
But I don't restrict my listening to metal at all.
Sure.
If there's a cool new record, I'm all over it. But it's just like any kind of like normal music. That doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
You know, there are like a couple dudes that put out great records consistently, and then every once in a while somebody surprises you and you're like, hey, that's pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
But even in indie rock or whatever it is, you're sitting there like, come on, somebody give me anything. I'm sitting here. I'm gonna buy your record if it's any good. I will buy it. Please make more than a part of a song cool.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But I think you should you know, that's what satire is you know, you have to find a landscape that you're pretty intimate with, that you really feel okay with poking fun at, you know.
Yeah.
I saw the movie, I think I was like maybe a few years into Metalocalypse, and then I saw the movie Black Dynamite. And coincidentally, they ended up doing a show at the same animation place for Adult Swim. And when I saw that movie, I was blown away because I was like, okay, here's a group of people who love this blaxploitation thing.
Yeah.
And they have an intimate knowledge of, I mean, every single stitch of that thing is just filled with love for that genre.
Yes.
You know, and they're also, it's a fantastic combination of just taking the piss out of it and completely adoring it and putting it on a pedestal.
Yep.
And that movie I thought was such a great way to do that. Spinal Tap does it too. I don't think they're saying rock and roll is stupid.
No.
I think they're saying that this is kind of a weird business, and here's a tragic story of a band on its way out. You know, and I think I've seen shows where I've seen other kind of projects or other metal things where like people send them to me because they're like, you like metal? I was like, nah, yeah, I do. I like my own metal.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And then I'll see some projects where I'll go, oh, they're kind of dumbing it down, or they're not giving it the amount of love that it needs, because you've got to do that in satire, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you really do. I mean, the fact that I sit and learn how to play metal for 20-something years was a part of. I was like, I'm not worried about how my relationship to metal and this show's relationship to it, because it's coming from me, and I love the music. And I think the world of rock and, I mean, story-wise, we pull from anything from, you know, there are exaggerated moments of musical history, like Altamont, or, you know, like weird drug overdoses, or strange shit that's already happened, and it had nothing to do with metal 9 times out of 10. It just happened, and we just put metal around it, and then it looks like metal's this scary, big, creepy place.
I do wonder, though, how many people you've pulled back into liking metal, or pulled into liking it from not liking it at all, because of either the comedy or the music itself. We've
gotten some nice compliments from kids over the years who've gotten into. Well, the other thing that our show does is it gets kids into guitar, because that was part of the challenge for me, because I've grown up, you know, as a kid watching cartoons, and every time there was a guitar, it's not designed right, or they're playing it wrong, their hands in the wrong place. They just don't give a shit. There's nobody gives, like, it's just the same amount of work to make it look right as it is to make it look wrong, pretty much. Or maybe there's just a little bit of extra energy, but I think it pays off. So my goal was to, you know, how many times do you get a TV show, you know, just in general, where you get an opportunity to kind of nail a couple of things, you know? So I thought we may as well play real guitars. We may as well, because I contacted Gibson right when the show was sold, and I said, hey, I want to use your guitars. I love Gibsons anyway. Let's put the Flying V on the show. Let's put this Explorer over here, and then they gave us the AutoCAD file, so we had like the 3D renderings of everything, and we can just, because they're asymmetrical guitars, some of them are, and they're hard to draw, and we didn't want people fucking them up. Right. So
that's awesome.
So then I did like every time there's a piece of music on the show, which is every episode, sometimes several times per episode. I'll do a video tutorial for the animators and show where my hands are and exactly. I'll slow it down. I go, so guitar number 1, this is the guy on the left. This is the blonde guy, Squiscar, is playing this riff. Okay, so guitar 2, at this point, the 13 second, he comes in with this thing. So he's got to be doing something else. So I'll give all those. And they'll get it in the ballpark. It's not always perfect, but they put the work in, and it's about right, and they understand what vibrato looks like, when you're bending notes and all that stuff. And so yeah, we've done a lot of crazy stuff.
That's insane, though.
It's you know what it's insane that people did what I said.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
That's
that I got a whole people just looking at me with their eyes open. I go, okay, this is what we're doing. We're animating guitar solos.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I'm like, no one's telling them otherwise, so we're gonna do. So that's what we will do. Well, the cool thing about the show is that in between the seasons, I'll put out these records, and I'll go do a tour for a little bit of time, and then we sold these tablature books, which are a guitar tablature, which is it has the actual notation of the music, and then it also has the way for us, if we don't read music, how to play it on guitar.
Dumbasses like myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like most guitar players who don't read music.
I can't do it for shit.
If you studied it, you could.
Sure.
And I don't study it at all. And at one point, I could do it horribly, and that was the best I could do it. And it doesn't come up that often, it turns out. But those sold really well. And then I talked to Gibson. I said, hey, listen, I want to design a guitar with you guys. In fact, I designed one on the show. What if we made the guitar that I put on the show? Shit. And they said, okay, and they did. And they made that one called the Thunder Horse, which is right there. I'll show you. It's this one right here. So it's a Silver Burst Explorer, and this is the Deathclaw one, and it doesn't even say. I didn't even want to put cartoon character on it. It's called the Thunder Horse, and that's all it says right there in the Les Paul font.
Awesome.
So there's that.
Good God.
And that did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they sold out of them.
Shit.
And so they built one for Epiphone, which is a cheaper company.
Mm-hmm.
That still makes really, really great guitars.
Sure.
And so they made this, and then we just put out another one. That's this one. This is, so one guitarist got one, so the other guitarist had to get one too. And this is called the Snow Falcon. Ooh. And this is a big, cool white Flying V.
That's amazing.
It's really cool. It sounds great, and it's a good guitar. These are all really good guitars, and they're not cheap, but kids are buying them.
Sure. Yeah.
The other one was I think it listed at like $2,300, and I think this one listed at like $15 or something. But people were like me when I was a kid. You find a way to, if it's important to you, you get a job.
Yeah.
And you learn how to manage your finances because of music and stuff,
Well, for someone like me, I'm just, I don't know. Obviously, it's the power music, but it's awesome to me that something funny did that too.
Right. Well, that's the thing is that's part of the comedy is part of the comedy is that you take a big portion of it very seriously.
Yes. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
And that makes your character stronger, and the character of the show is stronger if I've got these guitars out there, and if I've got these. All this other weird stuff, but that's part of the show. That makes my show more interesting if I have a record cover that looks like that. That takes itself dead. There's no jokes. No jokes, and that is the joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it's the same reason, like you said, like Spinal Tap. The only reason Spinal Tap works so well is those guys are actually up there playing. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And they wrote all the songs. They're wonderful singers.
And they're great. Their characters have a great story, and they're acting through them flawlessly.
Yeah.
And they're showing us things that we may have seen, like, oh, I get it. That's the Yoko Ono thing, and that is really truly tearing them apart. But the way that that's being played, and the way that camera is sneaking up on people and grabbing these moments is. That's why Metalocalypse is about a band that's the biggest entertainment act on earth. Because I couldn't do another story about a band on its way out.
Right.
There's no They did everything. You can't go back there.
It's true.
They did it too well. They just kind of shrugged and went, yeah, let's go do this. And they did that one day, and it was the best thing ever. And it's still some of the most amazing, bombastic, stupid comedy with the best subtle comedy that you've ever heard in your life, with some of the best lines you've ever heard that were probably improvised on the spot.
Right.
And then they did such a great job with the music, too, you know? Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a silly question, but I always ask people to tell if you somehow have never heard of Steve Martin, or have never heard him, or never heard... Maybe you only know him from his kids' movies.
Right.
Why listen to this album?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that's a really good question, because I think plenty of people don't know why he's a legend.
Right.
And there's so many people. That happens all the time with, like, there are kids growing up that don't know why Justin Bieber is popular. That's how much time is going by constantly. And nobody understands anything. I think he's the perfect combination of a really smart guy working really hard to be stupid. You know, and I think that's a really important part of comedy. Inside of that, there are so many hyper-technical, intricate things that have to happen in order for him to get that incredibly goofy, stupid character who is a selfish asshole, who's an egomaniac, where everything's about him. And then he's also a song and dance man on top of that, you know? Because that just, it all, you never really kind of deduce what he's doing, because he's up there trying to be the ultimate entertainer, and he's got a white suit on, and he's got the arrow through his head, and he's got all the things that are quote-unquote funny, and then he just starts complaining for a while about how things aren't going the right way. Or his mother, or his mother wants food. And he talks about how was it on this? I keep forgetting which one it was, but buying toys for his cat and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
And then he's talking about getting high, and you can tell he doesn't really get high. He probably doesn't drink, and he probably doesn't smoke or any of that stuff. Because he's kind of shitting on all that stuff, too. So you're starting to get a little bit of an angle of what he is. And he's a guy that sits in a room and practices and then goes out on stage.
Yeah.
But why should you listen to this? Because it really is... There's something that happens, I think even on this record, where the audience had gotten to Steve Martin, like the super big audience had gotten to Steve Martin, where they're laughing already at everything he says. And that happens on a lot of comedy records, where you see like a great comic, and it's not like when you see him at a comedy club going like, stay with me, and let me just try to get through this premise, you know?
Right.
See if we wind up anywhere good on the other side. But these guys are already in love with Steve Martin on this record. You can hear it. They just love him. And for really good reason. I remember being a kid and seeing him on one of those specials, and well, that guy is... I like him a lot. I wish I could pal around with that dude. You know, but that's there too. His wild popularity is already kind of sunk in. I think even in the year of this thing, it doesn't say the year on the iTunes thing. It says like 95 or something.
I want to say 74. I could be.
You think so?
Yeah, around there.
I guess he still had a lot bigger of a place to go. But you know what? That audience loved him, and rightly so. He was just a likable presence on stage. And also a guy who can just... And that's what great comedy is, too, is it can just exist in audio form, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Which is what podcasts are showing us, is that people really do experience orally some of the most important things they need to experience. We don't need to see a lot of shit in order to get it, you know?
It's true.
We need to hear it, you know, and that's music and that's comedy. And sometimes there's great... And on top of that, he is one of the best physical comedians in the world, I think. I really do. I think he's so silly and stupid, and he makes a lot of decisions about what to do with his stupid body, you know, like even in The Jerk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really a very careful guy who doesn't overthink stuff. That's the thing is about, you know, all the shit we're talking about is about nerds analyzing comedy.
Yeah.
And there's a point where you have to back off and go, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to go out there and take a chance, you know? And he knows when to let up.
Yeah. It's fine to pick other people's stuff apart, but if you're doing it yourself, you need to just...
Well, I mean, for example, I'm sure, maybe I'm not certain, but what I would believe that the origin of the song, the Ramblin' Guy song, the top is him, and I'm sure he prepared a song. At one point, he said, "I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna sing, and I'm gonna sing this Ramblin' song, and it's gonna be like a good song to start the thing." And I'm sure he kept truncating it and changing it and
Right.
just kind of saying "fuck you" to this song. I don't need to do a whole song. I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna fuck around. And they'll get the idea. And the truth is that we do get the idea.
Yeah.
He shows us the waves of what this side of there. Okay, you great. Okay, this side of there. Okay, great. No one has a chance to respond to anything he's saying, which is great. We get it. Yeah, we don't want to have to be put through these stupid, like, wrangled, like, children. Just get us through this thing, and it's funnier that way. So I don't know if that's a good enough reason why a guy should go and see.
It is. Like,
listen to this.
He's a fucking legend, and if you just are being told that and don't know why, here's how to find out. You know?
It's a funny form of comedy that I don't think a lot of people were doing beforehand, because you had a lot of different people out there. Because who was out there at the same time? You had Carlin,
Richard
Pryor, and these guys were all monsters. They were huge.
Cosby.
Bill Cosby, gigantic. Then you had like
they weren't acts in the same
you
way.
had like what's that?
They weren't acts in the same way. They were comedians. They were just
Well, they were
talking.
wordsmiths, and they were social commentators, and they were all kinds of different. Like, and you've got people just kind of like trying to figure out the logic of the world, and you've got those kinds of comedians who are just like confused and angry with their place, and all that kind of stuff. And then Bill Cosby, who's I don't even know how I would categorize Bill Cosby, because he's changed over the years.
Sure.
Nowadays, his character is kind of he is enslaved by his family in a way. Like he is his wife's stupid dolt he is not right about it. It's really funny. He plays that part perfectly from beginning to end. It's just like perfect, like just disperse this character perfectly over this hour and a half show. And then Steve Martin is just like he's what I love. He's also why I love the Marx Brothers, which is it's nonsense. And it's nonsense with these guys with stupid smiles on their faces, and then you get them around a musical instrument, and they will fucking shred your head off because they're virtuosos. And that's another thing is Marx Brothers. I remember my mother showing me a Marx Brothers movie that was on like a Sunday afternoon. She goes, "Oh, you probably want to check this out." And I was like, "Okay, what's this?" And I saw Harpo, who forget which one it was, but he knocked over a piano, and inside of the piano was basically the makings of a harp, and which isn't what's inside of a piano. But he started playing the harp, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" And I was like, "It looks like he's doing that. Like it looks like he's doing that live.
Yeah, it's not a
It may or may not, but he may be such a good mimic. Either way, he has the goods. He's got the technique, and the sounds that I'm hearing are sounds that I don't hear because I don't hear people play harp.
Yeah.
And then Chico playing the piano is insane. He's amazing. He's so good that he had to make a game out of it. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And Groucho plays a little jazz guitar. He's he's not doing anything too crazy. He hasn't gotten to the Django Reinhardt stage of playing, unless he does that off camera.
Right.
But but that's the kind of stuff I also was blown away by is that, and I see that in Steve Martin, and Steve Martin is just a one-man machine too, because he can write and he can direct if he wants to, and he can write these plays and do all kinds of stuff.
It's upsetting.
And I think it's really cool. I get excited when I see... I get excited when I see a guy at his age right now doing what I think would be the cool thing to do, which is go out and play music and have fun. And Woody Allen went through that stage too.
Right.
Where, which I watch like a couple times a year because I think it's really interesting is the Wild Man Blues. Which is when he goes to Europe and tours with his Dixieland band. And forces people to listen to Dixieland when they just want to hang out with Woody Allen, which is really funny. Because Dixieland does go on for a while.
It does, yeah.
And I'm a fan of music, but I can honestly say, okay, I get it. You're all doing arpeggios over the chords. Okay, where's this going? Let's wrap it up. But bluegrass, I think, has a lot of chordal texture and really cool stuff, and it's cool to see. You can even hear that in the intro. He does like some really cool turnaround inside of it. It's like, oh, that's a really cool thing that's not of that key. He messed around and kind of reharmonized a couple chords. But to see him in his older years probably be just funny enough to get through the night.
Yeah.
But also probably wow people. Like he can probably hold me for an hour, like maybe a 50-minute hour of just banjo playing. I'm sure. You know.
I don't doubt it.
Because that's something I don't think you get. That's just it's. In order to play banjo, the bluegrass style, you have to get it up to that tempo. Mm-hmm. And that tempo gets something going inside of you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, not everything is like, oh, hey. Meanwhile, Woody Allen, this is the music you play when somebody dies. Kind of a happy, sad New Orleans style funeral, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then there's a screaming trumpet and a guy with a plunger still trying to get some toilet paper out of one of his trombones. Yeah. Those are the cool stories, because wouldn't that be the cool way to, like, guys like him. And it's amazing that Steve Martin, that's the other thing, is you're not going to see Steve Martin do stand-up again.
No. Nope.
Bill Cosby is an anomaly. It turns out not all comics are doing this, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And some people are realizing you can do stand-up for as long as you have a relationship with it, you know?
Yep.
And it's kind of a cool thing, because as long as your brain is still working, because I saw Don Rickles 3 years ago, he was like 82, 4 years ago, and he was fucking funny as shit.
I bet.
And his brain was working, and it was great. And I was like, wow, so you can do that. You can keep doing that. Some of my favorite guitarists, actually it's not, Jeff Beck, who's playing some of his best guitar in his 60s.
Really?
Though he just canceled a tour.
Oh.
And he's 70 now.
Is he?
But I'm sure he'll get through it, because I think I think that's physically possible. I'm sure he has like what do I know? Mm-hmm. Anyway, comedy and music, I think you can keep doing. If you're like a shot putter or
right.
or if you're a rugby player, I think you're or you're getting by on your looks in some way.
Yes.
Your time is limited. But if you're a musician or a comedian, the weirder looking, the better sometimes. Yep. But as long as you can keep your muscles loose and practice enough a day to keep your shit together and keep going up in front of crowds, because that's a muscle too.
Yeah.
You know.
There are some people who would be screwed if that wasn't the case. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield getting his start in his 50s. I mean, he would be fucked if he couldn't keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know? He got funnier as he got older. Funnier looking, too, you know?
How old was Phyllis Diller when she started stand-up? She was like in her
don't know.
late 40s or something like that?
She was quite old.
Yeah, but she
rode that wave.
Yeah, that's the way you do it. Yeah. But Steve Martin's not doing it.
No.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
That's the long way. I'm taking the long way to say something today. Steve Martin's not doing it. And that's why you need to listen to this record, too, because you can find out how fucking funny he was when he wanted to be funny. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of a choice. It's funny. He went through that career trajectory where he's like, I'm sick of being a clown. I don't want to be a clown anymore. Mm-hmm. Back off. Leave me alone. Let me just be a person. Mm-hmm. Let me be in a couple serious movies, and let me just do something else. What does he need to prove? He's funny, you know?
No, he's good to go. That's what it's always seemed like to me. He's like, well, I did this well. Let's see if I can do this well. Yep, I'm really great at films, too. Yeah. You know, like, I'm really great at acting in films. Okay, great. I'm going to make a few. Oh, I'm really great at that, too. Make some successful plays.
Yeah. Those seem to do well. People liked him. They're interesting and romantic, and, you know, he's in touch with himself. And then, now what do you do? Yeah. Play banjo.
Exactly.
Play banjo right into your coffin.
Yeah. It seems like that's his retirement plan. That's his payment. It's like, nope, this is what I've earned.
He's got a lot of interest, too. I mean, I guess a lot of great artists do have other interests, but he's got a lot of interests that have nothing to do. And it's nice to have that, to have, like, an interest that has nothing to do with the field that you're in. Yeah. You know what I mean? 100%. I think he's got that, and that probably keeps him fresh. And the fact that he loves art and he likes acquiring art, and he likes and he's very knowledgeable of that stuff. That has very little to do with comedy. It has very little to do with banjo. So that's why I like music, because it has nothing to do with me being stuck in a story problem. Yeah. You know, writing a script. And that's why I like stand up, because I don't have to bring an amp and a guitar with me. To go and entertain people. You know, it's nice to. It's nice to do, and the way I look at this is the way that my career works, is that if I'm I'm probably one of the better guitarists in comedy. Mm-hmm. I don't know who can beat me, really. Uh-huh. I don't know who it is. I mean, I think I've got better chops. I probably have, I could probably play over changes a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And in world of death metal, I'm probably one of the funnier guys.
Right.
So as long as I'm not in the in the field that I'm in,
Yeah.
then I seem like a big shot.
Yeah.
But if I'm like with another guitarist who's great, I'm a piece of garbage. I'm a shitty piece of garbage. And if I'm in, if I'm like, oh, I'm standing next to like really fucking great comedy people who are just really funny, then I'm a very mediocre person. But as long as I'm not where I'm supposed to be, I'm in really good shape.
It's nice to be a savant in something, though.
Yeah, I'm a savant as long as I'm not hanging out with a bunch of other savants. I have to move to a place where everyone's like, wow, I've never seen people play guitar like that. You should have seen these fucking assholes I was hanging out with this weekend. They were so good that they make me want to not play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you saw them next to me, you'd go, oh, it's nice that you dabble. That's really cute.
Oh, I mean, again, that wraps it around to how Steve Martin talks about his own banjo playing. He doesn't think he's good. He always says that.
Well, yeah, I think, you know what? I think, let's say that I got 5 times or 10 times better than I was at guitar. I would find something to complain about, Yeah. Because that's the great thing about guitar. You can never stop learning it.
Right.
And with comedy, maybe Steve Martin maybe showed us there's only a certain place you can get to before you're like, what else can I do? Right. Stadiums? What else can I do?
Exactly. Exactly.
What else is it going to be? I have to go. And then he got to a point where they're just laughing at anything, and he's just like, I don't even know if this shit's fucking funny. I think they're infected. There's an influenza of my cadence or whatever hitting them, and yeah. So, there you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've wrapped it up.
I don't know what else I can say. I've said a lot.
You have.
Yeah.
That's good. That's solid.
I've said a lot.
You've said a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being here in your own place. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here at my own place.
And everybody, thank you for listening. And
yes, thank you for listening.
As always, have a good thing.
Enjoy some Steve Martin. You get the last word, not me.
No, it's fine. Have it. Go ahead. Say something.
Hi.
Comedy on Vinyl is a production of Stolen Dress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Worden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. Please visit stolendress.com to listen to our other podcasts, read our blogs, read our tweets, watch our videos, and read our books. Please subscribe on iTunes, and if you like us, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. You can find us on facebook.com/comedyonvinyl, Twitter @comedyonvinyl, and find everything else at comedyonvinyl.com.